Hey friends, today I am excited to share with you 5 things that you can be doing in your garden right now to be preparing for a fantastic spring and summer. Now, there is going to be a little bit of a caveat of this video. One, if you are like me and you are in a part of the country that is not buried in snow, odds are you can go ahead and do all of the same things that I am doing in my garden. Here it is, really the beginning of January. Our growing season here in North Carolina, Zone 7B, can easily start sometime in March, right? So especially for our cool weather crops, our cool weather plants, it will be March. So being in January, I want to go ahead and start thinking of what can I be doing in my garden to get it off to a fantastic start in early spring. If you are in a part of the country that is frozen, you're buried in snow, then this is still an amazing video for you because you can use this just a little bit later on in the season. Obviously, if you're buried in snow or you're just going to be getting tons of snow, if you're in Michigan, if you're in Maine, if you're in the Dakotas, if you're in, I don't know, just cold areas, right? So if you're in those areas, you're still going to be doing the exact same things that I am doing currently in my garden, but it's just going to be later on the calendar for you. So if you're definitely in the Southeast United States or you're warmer, Zone 7B or warmer, odds are you can absolutely start doing these things in your garden right now. So stay tuned because at the end, I'm going to have all of these 5 things listed on a graphic that you can take a screenshot, or you can just pause it and then get your garden journal out and start writing all these down. So I will have a graphic for you at the end of all 5 of these. All right, so number 1 on the list, what you can be doing in your garden. 1, prune those flowering shrubs that bloom on new growth. Now that is very important to make sure that when you're pruning your shrubs that these are ones that bloom on new growth. So what are some examples of new growth flowering shrubs? Well, your panicle hydrangeas, so your limelights, your firelights, your quick fires, those are all great examples of panicle hydrangeas. Also, what you can be pruning as far as hydrangeas goes are your smooth hydrangeas. Those are your arborescents. They bloom on new growth as well. So if you have any of the proven winners like the Invincible series, those are smooth hydrangeas. Incredible is a great example. You're going to want to prune those by 1/3 or 1/4. If you are not familiar with how to prune your panicle hydrangeas, make sure you check out the video above because I did a video on how to prune those panicle hydrangeas. Also, your roses. Yes, the vast majority of roses bloom on new growth. So you are going to want to prune those. We are standing here right off of the patio in that area. And right now, y'all, I know that it is not like a gorgeous garden because it is January here in North Carolina. But you can see I have great examples for you of what we just talked about. So here I have 3 of the David Austin roses. This is the Poet's Wife, and you can see I have pruned them. I just did a video last week on how to prune that. You can check those out. And then right behind that, I have some examples of my panicle hydrangeas. This is a little lime punch, and then back here is the pufferfish. So all of those you can see have been pruned. Any leaves that were there or old blooms, they have been removed, and that is what you are going to want to do. Also, another flowering shrub that you might want to go ahead and prune are your roses of Sharon. I did that just the other day. Now we're over here like on the patio, and you can see that I really pruned this white chiffon rose of Sharon pretty good because I learned last year that right here, this David Austin rose was starting to get not enough sun because the rose of Sharon was getting too far into it. So I am determined what I'm going to do is keep this sweet thing going more upright. I pruned out a lot of those limbs down there at the bottom. Not quite a standard form because you can see there's multiple trunks right there. But I easily pulled this thing back by gosh, a third to a half. It was really tall. Your roses of Sharon can get pretty tall. And so also I noticed last year I did not get as many blooms as I had the year before. So that's another clue, is maybe I did not prune it enough last year. Really get in there and prune it. Basically, you're going to prune that rose of Sharon just like you do a panicle hydrangea. There's nothing special about it, but that 1/4, 1/3, for me, I went ahead and did a half because it had gotten big. Not enough flowers last year, and then it was starting to encroach on my rose. So I'll have to keep an eye on this one. I also went ahead and got the rest of my roses here at the patio. You can see there's a rose in front of each one of these lattices, and they have been pruned as well. So everybody here has been pruned. My boxwoods, my gardenias, not gonna touch them. I have camellias over here, not gonna touch them. They bloom on old growth. It is not time to prune those. I will do that once the really cold of the winter goes away. And then here are two more roses rather, two more roses. And then this was my blue chiffon standard. So this too is another rose of Sharon that is in a tree form. This truly is a standard tree form. And you can see, again, really pruned that back. So absolutely, one thing you can be doing in your garden right now is pruning those flowering shrubs that bloom on new growth. I did have a question that I want to address that a viewer asked me. She said, I'm so confused. You said to do it in mid-February, and here it is January, and you're pruning these things. Like, which one is it? Well, I thought that was an excellent question, and I can see exactly how that would be confusing. For me, and where I am in North Carolina, I'm in the Piedmont. I'm just like west of Charlotte, very close to the South Carolina line. So I want to begin pruning my roses and my panicle hydrangeas anywhere from beginning, really, like the panicles, you can even cut those in the fall. It's the mid-February is like my end point. That's my deadline. I want to have them pruned by that point. Now, can you prune after? Well, sure you can. You just might delay your flowers some. But just know that there is grace in gardening, and there is a window. So for me, mid-February, late February is my deadline. I want to have my panicles pruned by that time. So I can start anywhere in the fall, late fall, all the way through the winter, and get those panicles cut back. I do my roses in early January. You want to do it before you get some new leaf buds showing on your roses. That is the key, because we want to get them pruned before that happens. I am going to be pruning here in the next day or two. I might even do it this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and get my climbing rose right here. This is the Generous Gardener from David Austin. Clearly it needs to be pruned. And one of the main reasons is that, of course, it's just the time. It is time to be pruned, but it is already starting to put out new leaves, and it is starting to put out new buds of leaf growth. So I need to get this pruned ASAP. And so again, I'll probably go ahead and do it this afternoon, but just know you want to get ahead of the game. Pace yourself. So get out there and get those sweet things pruned. So that's the number one thing that you can be doing in your garden. Now, number two, what you can be doing in your garden, your perennials, right? So if you have a lot of perennials in your garden, you want to go ahead and start, if you haven't already been doing it, or maybe, you know, sometimes it's just kind of, for me, the perennials is an ongoing process. We want to begin cleaning up and removing any dead or spent foliage on your perennials. So what am I talking about? Okay, so here we are. I like to use visual examples because I am a visual learner, and I think it helps to see things that I'm talking about. So this is one of my most favorite flower beds. This is what I call the forest pansy bed, because this tree is a forest pansy red bud, and underneath it, even though it's can't tell it right now because it's winter and there's no leaves, but this is a huge, massive, deep shade garden when this tree is all flushed out. So, and then up here in the front is more sun, because obviously I've got butterfly bushes. So I get two in one for sure in this flower bed. So one thing for me that I can be doing is my Lenten roses, my hellebores. I've got a couple in this flower bed, and you can see right here that this is one huge gigantic hellebore, and I need to get in here and prune this. I need to cut back all of this dead foliage, not dead, the spent foliage. So all of this right here, all this outer stuff needs to be cut back. I have a video where I did one earlier, so you can check that out. I will have it linked for you. But all of the things on the outside are the old spent foliage. This is all my brand new growth, and I have got buds in there. I have got flower buds. So I want to get rid of my old foliage so that my new foliage and my new flowers will be very happy and can shine. So this is what it looks like. Here is another one that needs to be done. And then right on over here, that little clump right there, I did this the other day. So you can see, yes, it looks very much smaller, looks a little naked, but you can see there's those sweet little buds, and they're going to be blooming here before you know it. So your hellebores, go ahead and trim those back. Now, you may be looking and you're like, Jenny, there's nothing there. It is only a plant tag. That is correct. This was a hosta, is a hosta. If you look, you can see that there is a little bud right there. But this whole space was completely covered in the old dying foliage from last year. Really simple. You just simply pull it away. You want to clean it up. So your hostas, your ferns, if you have ferns that will die back in the winter, go ahead and get those pulled back. Any of that kind of foliage that on your perennials that is dead, dying, or obviously spent, go ahead and cut it back. It'll be fine. You're going to have new flush of growth come out later on in the spring once the temperatures warm up. Now, number 3 on the list is probably all of our least favorite chores. Let me tell you what you need to be doing next. Number 3 on the things that you can be doing in your garden, weeding. Yep, I know it is probably my least favorite thing to do, but it also is very satisfying when you get done. So weeds will come up in your garden no matter if it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. They are here. And I am showing you my warts and all my friends. So here we are, obviously in front of the house, here by the bottom crepe myrtle where my weigelia are. And you can see that the winter weeds are very happy. They are very prosperous, and they are growing quite nicely all up in here in this flower bed. This is one of those flower beds where I haven't touched it very much this fall, and so you can clearly tell that it needs some attention. I know that it really is like the least favorite thing that we can be doing in our garden for most of us, but it is so important to get those weeds out and to maintain them. If I had been more on top of things and come out here when these weeds were smaller, it would not be so overwhelming. It's gonna be, this is gonna be a couple hour job to get these weeds out of this bed now, but it is vitally important because those weeds are taking, any kind of moisture or nutrition away from your flower beds, from your plants that are in there, and you want to get them out. Now, the good thing and the bad thing is we are in North Carolina, and we have typically very wet winters. We just had a whole day of rain yesterday, tons of rain. And so obviously we appreciate the rain, but as far as like working in your garden, it is just messy. We have red clay. If I were to weed right now, I would just, when I got done, I would just be a hot mess. So there's the downside of that, but the plus side is that the weeds will pull out really easy. Like I'm not gonna have to work hard to get them out of the ground. As opposed to if it's really dry, I'm not gonna get dirty, but a lot of those weeds are just gonna snap off, and it's gonna be harder for me to really get the roots out. So you gotta pick your happy medium in there and kind of time it. So maybe I don't wanna weed today, but maybe in 2 days when it's a little bit drier, I'll come in here and get this taken care of. But stay on top of your weeds. I know I preach that. My other flower beds are doing really well. This is by far like the worst area, but these will come out easy. And if I don't get them though, they will completely cover this area and be quite tall. And when I say tall, they'll be, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches tall. So these are not going to die back until the heat of the summer hits. So you got to get out there and weed your garden. All right. So that was number 3, get out there and weed your garden. Number 4 is a little bit more fun. So let's talk about number 4. All right, so number 4 that you can be doing in your garden right now, trimming back your perennial grasses. Yes, we leave our perennial grasses up and have nice winter fall interest for us. You can see right here, these are the Cheyenne Sky that are in this Easy Scape bed here at the nursery. I like to leave them up during the late fall, early winter, because it does give me some structure in this bed. Like, it's not just a totally empty bed. But you can see that all the foliage, it has completely died. With all the freezes we've had and all the cold temperatures, they have completely died. What you're gonna do is you want to prune your perennial grasses before they start to set any new growth in that early spring, because we want to cut all the old foliage off, and we don't want to cut the tips off of the new foliage, because it's not the end of the world if you cut some of that green foliage, but then they're going to have brown tips. If you can get it before new growth begins to emerge, that is the perfect time to do it. It is super easy to do. Let me show you. This is an example of a before, and then I had Kelly and Randy, they were working here end of last week, I believe it was, and I asked them to go ahead and cut some of these big perennial grasses that are over here on the bank at the nursery, and they happily obliged. Super simple, y'all. Ladies, if you understand, I want you to gather up those perennial grasses like a big old ponytail, and then I want you to get either your hedge trimmers, your chainsaw, your clippers, your scissors, whatever, and you are going to absolutely give it a flat top. I told the girls, I said, go as low as you possibly can and just cut all that foliage out. And that is exactly what they did. So your perennial grasses, you are just going to take, like I said, gather them up. I have found that if you can get a really large bungee cord or a rope and tie them up, again, like you're doing a ponytail on your grasses, tie it up, have it a little bit high. That way all that foliage is in one spot and kind of tied together. And then you can easily come through and go, meow, and then cut it back. So that is number 4 on the list, is trim back your perennial grasses. And Brenna found a pot. Sister, it's a sunny day, but it is a cool day, and my hands are pretty chilly, but you know Brenna, German Shepherd, she is a happy girl, and she is like, the colder, the better for her. So, side note, number 5 on the list. Now, this might be, perhaps, is the most fun of all the garden chores that you can do, because you really can do it from sitting on your couch. Now you're like, Jenny, how can I garden from my couch? Well, you're not going to garden from your couch, but you're going to begin preparing gardening for your couch. So number 5 is to go ahead and collect all of your supplies that you're going to need for the next growing season, because it is a fantastic time to fertilize all of your perennials, your shrubs, your trees is in late winter, early spring. So I want you to go ahead and start purchasing, ordering, whatever you need to do to get your fertilizers. So here we are at the barn. Excuse the boxes, please. But this is where all of our fertilizers are. So here we have our Proven Winners. This is our water-soluble fertilizer. This is for your flowering annuals. This is all that I use on my flowering annuals. Fantastic. So if you need to order some, order it. Then we have the time-released, the slow-release fertilizer from Proven Winners. Again, great for those annuals. But mainly what I'm thinking about is what we use, what I just call the tones, right? So we'll go through and explain kind of what we use the tones for. Biotone is extremely popular, but it can be very hard to find. So if your local garden center doesn't carry it like we do, then you might want to go ahead and order it. Biotone we use only when we are planting. When you're planting your trees, your shrubs, your perennials, that is when you use biotone. It is a starter fertilizer. It goes in the hole with your plants. So order your biotone. What might be a little bit easier to find at your local garden center or your farm supply, your hardware store, will be plant tone. Plant tone, I say, is like the Swiss Army knife. If you don't know what to use plant tone. It is a fantastic general fertilizer. Basically, all my perennials get it. This is what you're going to use if you have nothing else. If you buy no other fertilizer, buy the plant tone. Holly tone is for our acidic loving plants. Obviously, it is fantastic for your hollies, your azaleas, your camellias, your rhododendrons, a lot of your evergreens. Love this, and you can actually look online at Espoma. I will try to go ahead and remember to put that link, but Espoma on their website has a plant food finder, so you can search by plant. So you're like, I have a hibiscus. What do I use for my hibiscus? Look at it alphabetically and it will tell you which one to use. It is fantastic. A couple of them I have been surprised with. So another one that I would say is a great one to have is definitely your rose tone. Now you may go, Jenny, I don't grow roses. I don't need rose tone. Do you have hydrangeas? Do you have butterfly bushes? Well, then you're going to want to have your rose tone. Rose tone is wonderful for those woody, flowering shrubs. So if you don't have roses, obviously, but if you don't have roses, your hydrangeas, your butterfly bushes, roses of Sharon, a lot of those will use the rose tone. And then, different kinds of your compost, your potting soil. Go ahead and start stocking up. We have Land and Sea. Tons of Land and Sea. Then we use the Proven Winners potting soil. It is the only potting soil that I use. I absolutely love it. So that's the things you need to be going for. Then get online, y'all. This is the perfect time to order plants. If you have specific plants you want to order, go ahead and do that. I may or may not have ordered some clematis to plant next to my roses. So we're going to do some companion planting on that. I just ordered that this week. Sweet Tina, my friend Tina, was like, Jenny, look at this. This great clematis nursery. I'll try to remember to link that for you too. There's going to be a lot of links, so you're going to have to check out the video description. And so I ordered some clematis. I'm going to be looking at my seed catalogs. So I love Johnny's Select Seeds is a great one. Kitchen Garden Seeds. So wherever your favorite place to get, whether it's your vegetable seeds, your flowers, like your sunflowers, cosmos, those kinds of things, get them ordered early. You want to go ahead and get any kind of plant supports that you may need. Last year in the dead of winter, I ordered tomato cages, and I ordered like a trellis type thing for my cucumbers to grow on. So go ahead and order that before the rush, before they sell out. You're sitting at home, even if you are covered in snow, go ahead and start planning absolutely for sure on those kinds of things. I made some notes. Oh, and then also, my favorite part of gardening is in January and February. This is where you sit and you dream of all the wonderful plans. What plants are you going to use? What combinations are you going to use? So go ahead and start planning and coming up with some ideas of your containers, your flower beds, what plants you're going to put in there. That way, when you visit your local garden center, no matter what time it is of the year it is, and you see those plants, you know, oh, well, I need this plant to go here, or this plant is going to go there. Oh, I was going to order a hanging basket, so I'm going to order that. So make sure that you go ahead and start planning. So that number 5 is begin planning and preparing for that spring and summer growing season, because it is going to be here before we know it. So excited. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been informative. Stay tuned, because here in just a second, I'm going to have that graphic up for you that you can take your notes or do a screenshot on it. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.